Welcome to Question Bank. This is the second part or second paper of Assistant Executive Engineer Electrical Engineering conducted by OPSC, that is Odisha Public Service Commission, and we will discuss all the questions in this second paper in details. I have already discussed the first paper recently, and now we are going to discuss all the questions in the second paper. So here the first question number 1, a hydraulic turbine having rated speed of 250 rpm is connected to a synchronous generator. In order to reduce the power at 50 Hz, in order to produce power at 50 Hz, the number of poles required in the generator are. So here given that a hydraulic turbine, this is not hydraulic, this is hydroelectric turbine. Hydroelectric and hydraulic are two different things. So this is hydroelectric turbine having rated speed of 250. So this is very easy thing, that is we have the synchronous speed we are having, and we have to find out what is the required pole for the synchronous generator, and frequency we know that is 50 Hz frequency. So synchronous speed of a generator, that is alternator or synchronous generator, is generally given by 120 F by P, and we have to find out the P. So P is equal to 120 into frequency by synchronous speed. So which we are getting 120 into 50 by 250. So which is equal to 24 here. So here answer will be 24. That is option D here correct. Next question, if the discharge is 1 meter cube per second and head of the water is 1 meter, then power generated by the alternator in 1 hour, assume 100% efficiency of the generator and turbine will be. So here we have to find out what will be the power generated by this hydroelectric plant having discharge rate this much and head of 1 meter and efficiency is 100%. So we are having the formula, that is 0.736 by 75 Q into efficiency. Q is the discharge, this one is the efficiency, and nu is the efficiency, and this one H is the head, and this one is kilowatt. So what we are having? We are having discharge, efficiency and head, all are 1, because here 100% efficiency we have to take efficiency nu to be 1. So here what we will get 0.736 by 75, which is equal to 9.8 kilowatt. So we can take it to be 10 kilowatt. So here answer is option A. Next question number 3, the number of buckets Z for a Pelton wheel in terms of Z ratio M is given by empirical formula. So this formula is generally used to find out the number of buckets in case of Pelton wheel, that is Z is equal to 0.5 m plus 15. Option B here is the correct answer. Next question number 4, Rankine cycle efficiency of a steam power plant is in the range of. So Rankine cycle has efficiency around 30 to 45%, and this is associated with thermal power plant. Next is reheat cycle in a steam power station is employed for option A, improving thermal efficiency, option B, improving condenser performance, option C, reducing heat losses, option D, utilizing heat of flue gases. So here reheat cycle in a steam power plant or power station is employed for improving thermal efficiency. Option A is here correct answer. Next is question number 6, the power output of nuclear power station is proportional to option A, the rate at which the fission reaction occurs, option B, square root of the rate at which fission reaction occurs, option C, square root of rate at which fission reaction occurs. This one is square root and this one is square, only square, and this one is none of the above or none of these. So here what we are getting, the power output of a nuclear power plant is always directly proportional, or it is proportional to the rate at which the fission reaction occurs. Next question number 7. Here question number 7 given that the cost function of a 50 megawatt generator is given by P1 given by F of P1 is equal to 225 plus 53 P1 plus 0.02 P1 square, and P1 is the generating loading. So here this one is the function of a P1, that is loading function. Then when 100% loading is applied, the incremental fuel cost is, so incremental fuel cost is directly given by df by dp, or here df by dp1. So here if we differentiate this function f with respect to p1, what we will find, this 225 will be 0 as a constant, and here 53 p1, so this will be only 53. Next 0.02 into 2, here square given, so here 2 will be multiplied and only p1 will be rest. So 53 plus 0.04 p1 at 50, p1 value is 50, because here given that cost function of 50 megawatt generator. So if we put 50 value at p1, so what we will get, we will get 53 plus 2, which is equal to 55 megawatt hour, not megawatt. So here answer is A. Next is in a 4 cross 4 Y bus matrix, the number of non-zero elements are 12. Number of non-zero elements are 12. Find out the number of transmission lines. So here we have to find out the number of transmission lines. So in this type of problems, we have to analyze the Y bus matrix elements, number of elements. So here given that 4 cross 4 matrix. So for a 4 cross 4 matrix, square matrix, total number of elements will be 16. Total number of elements will be 16, and among these 16 elements 12 elements are non-zero elements. As 12 number of elements are non-zero elements, we know that for a Y bus matrix, always the principal diagonal elements are always non-zero elements. Besides the principal diagonal element, other off diagonal elements may be 0 or non-zero elements. So here we are getting total 12 number of non-zero elements. That means total we are getting 12 number of non-zero elements. And now from 12 number of non-zero elements, if we subtract 4 diagonal elements, what we are getting? What off diagonal element which are non-zero is 8. Off diagonal element which are non-zero is 8. Here I have written off diagonal element which are non-zero is 8. So that means from this value, from this element and from this element, total we are getting 8 non-zero elements. That means the connections, suppose there is a connection between bus 1 and 2, then it will be non-zero, and this value will be non-zero. Suppose there is a connection between 4 and 2, bus 4 and bus 2, this connection is present, and this value A42 and A24 will be non-zero. So we have to divide the rest non-zero elements into 2 parts, so that we can find out what are the transmission lines, that means what are the connections, number of connections. So from 12 we are subtracting first these four diagonal elements, we are getting 8, and from that 8 if we divide by 2, then we will get number of transmission lines. So 8 by 2, which is equal to 4 is the number of transmission lines. So next question, the sequence current of a generator for line to ground fault is J 2.4 per unit. Then current through the neutral during the fault is. So here zero sequence current is given, and we have to find out the current through neutral. So this is simply 3 into the zero sequence current, 3 into J 2.4, which is equal to J 7.2. Next question number 10. A three-phase fault occurs at the middle of transmission line as shown in the figure below. Then maximum power transfer during the fault is here, not 2. So here we have to find out what is the maximum power transfer during the fault. This one is the circuit given. So I have copied this one to below here, because this one is a lengthy process, we cannot solve in this much space. So I have copied this circuit to here. So this one is the circuit. We have to find out what is the power transfer during the fault. So this one is the circuit given, this one is the circuit given, and fault is occurring at the lower, this one, at this cross fault is occurring. So first we have to draw the reactance diagram. And what type of fault we are taking place here? Three phase symmetrical fault. Three phase fault. Three phase fault means this is a symmetrical fault. So reactance diagram first we have to draw. This one is this generator is having 0.2 per unit, 0.2 per unit reactance. This one is the generator, and this one is the 0.2 per unit reactance of generator, and this one is the infinite bus bar. This is also represented by a source. And now here this 0.4 is here, and this 0.2 is here. So where did this 0.4 go? So here, when fault occurs, this I have divided this into two parts, and both are in parallel section, because as fault occurs, short circuit, three phase short circuit fault occurs, these reactances will be divided into two parts. Ideally this will be divided into two parts. At the middle we are taking this will be divided into two parts, and both are will be connected in parallel as the representation. So here 0.2 will be here and 0.2 will be here. Totally this is 0.4 for the lower transmission line. So now what we will take here, we have to find out the transfer reactance, and transfer reactance is always can be find out from the circuit like this. Circuit like this is the transfer reactance. Circuit like this is the transfer reactance. Only there is a reactance here, and all other reactances are in parallel with the source both side. So this is transfer reactance during the fault. So for this type of circuit, we have to first convert this delta. This one is a delta connection. This 0.4, 0.2 and 0.2 are in delta connected. This is one terminal, this is another, and this is another. So here we have to find out the delta connection, and we have to convert this one to star connection like this. If we convert this one to star, it will be like this. Suppose this one is x1, x2 and x3, and x1 is delta to star connection. x1 will be 0.2 into 0.4 into 0.4 by 0.2 plus 0.4 plus 0.2, which is equal to 0.1. And similar for x2 also. x2 also will have similar value. And next x3, this one, how this one will be calculated? 0.2 this one into this one by the whole sum. So this will be 0.05. So now this is our star connected network, and we have to combine this and this. We have to combine this and this. What we will get? 0.2 plus 0.1. So this is 0.3 and 0.3, and this one is 0.05. Now we are having a star connected network, and we have to find out the transfer reactance. So we have to convert this star again to delta. So what is the procedure from star to delta? This is the procedure: sum plus product by the rest one. That is, sum means this one 0.3 plus 0.3, 0.3 plus 0.3 plus product of them, that means 0.3 into 0.3 by rest one is 0.05. So this is 2.4, this one is 2.4, and these two are calculated in the same manner. And if we don't calculate these two, that means x5 and x6, it is okay. I have only calculated here to represent this one. So here we have the finality circuit to find out the power. So here transfer reactance is x4, that means 2.4. Here I have omitted J. In every parameter reactance I have omitted J, and per unit PU I have omitted per unit. You have to write per unit if you are solving the subjective. So here what we have to do, we have to find out the power during the fault. So power during the fault is V1 V2, that is V1 is this one initial, and this one is the final is the boss. So this one is the 1 per unit, and this one is 1.2 per unit. So V1 into V2 by x is the transfer reactance into sine delta here 1.2 delta is given. From higher angle to lower angle power flows. So here what we will get? 1.2 into 1 by 2.4 sine delta, and what we are getting? 0.5 sine delta. And in the question given that maximum power transfer during the fault. So what will be the maximum power? When delta sine delta will be 1, it will experience maximum power during the fault. So maximum power will be 0.5 per unit. So this is the total process for this question to find out the fault power transfer during the fault. So here answer will be option A. Next question is question number 11. A 4-bus power system consists of 4 transmission lines. Then find sparsity of Y matrix. So this is similar question like this. Similar question like this one. Question number 8. Question number 8, we have to find out here the sparsity. That means the number of 0 elements in Y bus matrix. So sparsity is the number of 0 elements by total number of elements. So what will be the total number of elements? Total number of elements is 16, 4 cross 4 matrix, and the diagonal elements is 4, and these are non-zero elements. Non-zero elements are 4 into 2, because there are 4 connections. That means 4 transmission lines are present. So there will be 4 non-zero elements in off-diagonal elements. So total from total off diagonal elements there will be 8 non-zero elements. That means 4 in the upper triangular and 4 in the lower triangular matrix. So what are the 0 elements now? Rest are the 0 elements. What are the 0 elements? Total element, that means is 16 minus 8 are non-zero off diagonal and 4 are diagonal elements. So here answer is 4. 0 element are 4. So what is sparsity? Sparsity is 4 by 16, which is equal to 25%. 4 by 16, which is equal to 25%. So option D is here the correct answer. Next question, question number 12. A transmission line has self and mutual impedances of 0.8 per unit and 0.2 per unit. Find the positive, negative and zero sequence impedances respectively. So here ZS is equal to 0.8 per unit as given, and ZM, that is mutual impedance, is given to be 0.2 per unit. And we know that positive sequence and negative sequence impedances, is equal to ZS minus ZM. That means self impedance minus mutual impedance, which is, and this is for transmission line and which must be transposed and perfect. So here ZS minus ZM, which is equal to 0.8 minus 0.2, which is equal to 0.6 per unit. And what is the zero sequence impedance? This is equal to ZS plus 2 ZM, and this is equal to 0.8 as given plus 2 into 0.2, which is getting to be 1.2 per unit. So here answer is 0.6. This one is positive, negative also same, and this one is 0. Impedance is this much. So next question, question number 13. Question number 13 is given. Which of the following statement is or are true? The elements of each row of a Y bus matrix for load flow studies in power system adds up to 0. So here what is given? Given is the elements of each row of a Y bus matrix for load flow studies is adds up to always 0. So if we go to the previous page, I have described here a Y bus matrix. Here Y bus matrix, what is in this question, what is given, what is they are saying? They are saying that if we add all the elements of a row, that means A11 plus A11 plus A12 plus A13 plus A14, this will be 0. But this is not 0. This represents the shunt reactance or the ground reactance of that bus. So here what we will say, in option given, that option is always 0 if shunt admittances are ignored, if mutual coupling are ignored. Option D is both mutual coupling and shunt admittances are ignored. So here option D is correct answer. This will be 0 only if both mutual coupling and shunt admittances are ignored. So here option D is the correct answer. Otherwise it will be a non-zero value, and this will represent the sum of mutual inductance and admittance of the shunt admittance. Next is the solution of a load flow equation. Newton-Raphson method is superior to Gauss-Seidel method because the option A, time taken to perform one iteration in Newton-Raphson method is less than Gauss-Seidel method. Option B, convergence characteristic of Newton-Raphson method is not affected by selection of a slack bus. Option C, more efficient use of core memory. Option D, less computations. So here I will define all the differences between Newton-Raphson method and Gauss-Seidel method. So from that we will answer the question first. So here are the differences. I have noted down what are the differences between Gauss-Seidel and Newton-Raphson. So first thing, in case of Gauss-Seidel method, large number of iterations required in comparison to Newton-Raphson. So in case of Newton-Raphson, less number of iterations required. So in case of Gauss-Seidel iteration size, each iteration has large size, but that is in case of Newton-Raphson is less, size is less. Similarly, in case of Gauss-Seidel method, linear convergence, this method is linear convergent, but Newton-Raphson method is quadratic convergent. This one is important. In the next question also this thing is asked. So next point is computation time per iteration is less in case of Gauss-Seidel method, but this is large. It takes large time in case of Newton-Raphson method for computation per iteration is large here. And next is the memory taking by the or memory management or memory efficient. This takes Gauss-Seidel method takes low memory, whereas Newton-Raphson takes higher memory. And next, slack bus dependent, selection of slack bus dependent is the Gauss-Seidel. That means Gauss-Seidel method depends upon the selection of slack bus, and depending upon that the method will lengthy or short. But in case of Newton-Raphson method, it is less dependent, not independent. It is less dependent on the selection of slack bus. And last one is Newton-Raphson method is more accurate. So these are the differences between Newton-Raphson method and Gauss-Seidel method. So now we will answer the question what is given. So why we are considering Newton-Raphson method to be superior to that of Gauss-Seidel method? Because convergence characteristic of Newton-Raphson method is not affected by selection of slack bus. This is actually less affected by selection of a slack box. So here answer is option B. So why A, C and D are not answer, we will discuss here. Time taken to perform one iteration in Newton-Raphson method is less than Gauss-Seidel method. So this is not true, because here I have written that computation time in case of Newton-Raphson method is higher than that of Gauss-Seidel method. And next is option C, more efficient use of core memory. Here I have already written that in case of Gauss-Seidel method we are requiring less memory than that of Newton-Raphson method. So here Newton-Raphson method is not superior. So now last is less computations. So computation is actually not less, computation are complicated than that of Gauss-Seidel method. So here answer is convergence characteristic of NR, that is Newton-Raphson method, is not affected by selection of slack bus. Next question is question number 15. What type of convergence takes place in Newton-Raphson method? So here I have already explained in previous question that is quadratic convergence. I have written here quadratic convergence in case of Newton-Raphson method. Quadratic convergence means it will early converge than that of linear convergence. Next question is the positive sequence reactance and zero sequence reactance of a three-phase balanced transmission line with mutual reactance between the two lines are 1.5 per unit and 3 per unit. The mutual reactance between the lines is. So here what is given? Positive sequence reactance is given to be 1.5 per unit and zero sequence reactance is given to be 3 per unit. So here balanced transmission line with mutual, so I have already explained what is the formula. Z1, that means positive or negative, both are same. Positive sequence impedance is given as Zs, that is the self impedance, minus Zm, that is mutual impedance, which is equal to 1.5, that is given, and Z0, that is the zero sequence impedance. Zero sequence impedance is equal to Zs plus 2 Zm, which is given to be 3. So if I subtract 2 from 1, so what we will get? Minus 3 Zm, which is equal to minus 1.5. and at last we will get Zm is equal to 0.5 per unit. So here answer will be option B. Option B will be the correct answer. Next question, question number 17 here. So here question number 17, what is given? The most suitable location for a power factor improvement device is option A, near the electrical appliances which is responsible for poor power factor. Option B, at the receiving end in case of transmission line. Option C, at sending end. Option D, both A and B. So here we can place the power factor improvement device at two places. Generally we can put at the appliances, that is the end of the transmission line, or at the load end, or at the receiving end. That is power factor depends upon load. So we will put the power factor improvement device at the load or at a receiving end station. So here option A and B both are correct. So option D is correct, both A and B. Next question, question number 18. A transmission line select section shows as input impedance of a 36 ohm and 64 ohm respectively when short circuited and open circuited. What is the characteristic impedance of the transmission line? So short circuit impedance and open circuit impedances are given. We have to find out characteristic impedance. So characteristic impedance is given as root over of a multiplication of open circuit impedance and short circuit impedance. So ZC, which is called as the characteristic impedance, is given as ZOC into ZSC root over. So here 36 root over is 6 and 64 root over is 8. So 6 into 8, which is equal to 48. So answer is option D. Option D. Next question, question number 19. A 50 ohm distortion-less transmission line has capacitance of 10 to the power minus 10 farad per meter. What is the inductance per meter? So here given that a distortion-less transmission line, that means the surge impedance is given to be 50 ohm. Surge impedance is given to be 50 ohm. So 50 ohm is equal to surge impedance, which is given by root over of L and C. L is the inductance of the transmission line and C is the capacitance of the transmission line, and 50 is equal to root over of L by C, and given that C is given and we have to find out L. L is equal to 50 square, that is 2500 into 10 to the power minus 10 given. So here what we are getting, 0.25 micro Henry. That means option A is the correct answer. Next question, question number 20. In 3 unit insulator string, voltage across the lowest unit is 17.5 kilovolt and string efficiency is 84.28%. The total voltage across the string will be equal to. So we know that for this, like suppose this one is suspension and here is the transmission line. Transmission line is this one conductor and this one the strings, and this one is the arm, cross arm of the pole. So what is given? Voltage across this one, the lowest voltage across the insulator which is nearest to the conductor is given, and string efficiency is given. So what is the string efficiency formula? Voltage across the whole string by N into, N is the number of string, into voltage across insulator near to the conductor. So here given that string efficiency is 84.28%, that means 0.8428 is equal to V by 3 into 17.5, and what is V? Multiplication of 0.8428 into 3 into 17.5. What we are getting? Answer is 44.25. That means option B here is the correct answer. Next question, question number 21. Bundled conductors are used to option A, reduced inductance of the line, option B, reduced both inductance and capacitance, option C, reduced corona loss, and option D, reduced corona losses and the line inductance. So here option D is the correct answer, because here it reduces corona loss, it is correct, and reduces inductance of the line, it is correct. So as both are given in case of option D, it is option D is the correct answer. And bundled conductor not causes the reduction of capacitance of the line, but it increases the capacitance of the line. Next question is question number 22. The charging current in a transmission line increases due to corona effect because corona increases. Option A, line current. Option B, effective line voltage. Option C, power losses in line. Option D, the effective conductor diameter. So here corona increases the effective conductor diameter. Effective conductor diameter. So option D here is the correct answer, and due to this, if due to effective conductor diameter, the capacitance of the transmission line increases, and that is by which the charging current increases. And how it is increasing? Suppose this one is the transmission line and this one is the thickness of transmission line, or the diameter. When corona occurs, corona means discharging of the electric power to the environment in the form of ionization of the environmental air. That means when high voltage is fed to the transmission line, it will ionize the nearby air, and it will form the ions nearby the conductors. That means this air in this environment will act as also a somewhat conductor. That means we are increasing the effective conductor diameter, and it will act as also capacitance, higher capacitance. It will cause higher capacitance, and in turn it will cause the higher charging current. Next question is question number 23. A generator has reactance of soft transient x double prime is equal to 0.5 per unit, transient, that is x prime, is equal to 0.8 per unit, and synchronous reactance x is equal to 5 per unit. The voltage at these reactances are 1.2 per unit, 1.1 per unit, and 1 per unit respectively. The corresponding soft transient fault current is. So as this is asking about the soft transient, we have to consider this one, soft transient reactance and soft transient voltage. So here soft transient voltage by soft transient reactance, that means 1.2 by 0.5, both are in per unit, and answer will be 2.4. fault current will be 2.4 per unit. Option A here is the correct answer. So next question is question number 24. An HVAC line using same current density in conductors as that of DC will have conductor losses. Option A, about 3 times, about 1.5 times, same as that of DC, cannot be asserted. So here in case of AC, the conductor loss is higher, and how much? This is generally for aluminum conductors, this is generally 1.5 times, and this is due to the skin effect. In case of DC, the whole area, the whole cross section causes the current conduction, but in case of AC, the current conduction is reduced towards the center and highest at the peripheral region of the cross section of a conductor. So effective resistance of a conductor for AC is generally 1.5 times than that of DC. So as we know that I square R is the loss, and here R is taking to be 1.5 times. So what we will get? R is 1.5 times. So here power loss will also be 1.5 times in case of HVAC for same current density. Next question, compared to AC overhead lines, towers and substations, the land requirement in DC. Option A, same as that of AC. Option B, 65% of substation and 50% for lines. Option C, 90% for both substations and lines. Option D, cannot be predicted. So here in my opinion, option C is the correct answer. 90% of both substations and lines, because what I am saying that for land requirement means, suppose for an AC line, here is the tower, and here are the cross arms. This is the land requirement. This one is the land requirement, and for substations, some land is required for substations for both AC and DC. But in case of DC line, phase to phase and phase to ground clearance is low. That means if phase to phase clearance is low, we can construct narrow poles, narrow transmission towers in comparison to AC lines, and also phase to ground clearance is also low, required low. That means we can construct low height towers for HVDC lines, HVDC lines. So these are for DC. So here in case of transmission line, we are requiring less land as compared to HVAC for HVDC. But in case of stations, in case of substations or terminal stations, in case of DC, we require more land. We require more land in case of terminal stations because of the converter part. That means we have to convert from AC to DC or DC to AC. So for that we require extra land in case of DC. But in case of DC transmission, there is no middle station, there is no compensating station, and there is no transposition station. But in case of AC, these are most essential. Middle station is required, compensation station is required to maintain the voltage profile, and also transposition system is required for reducing the communication line interference and also for better performance. So in case of DC, this is a mixed result in case of transmission stations. So that is why I have chosen 90% of both the stations. Next question is given: the TCSC circuit behaves as inductive circuit when alpha is smaller than sigma. So here alpha and sigma, what are they not given? So here alpha is the firing angle, and what is the TCSC? TCSC is the thyristor controlled series capacitor, and this is a compensating device, and for which this is a capacitor which is connected in series, but it may behave like inductor when, for which condition. So look at this figure. So in this figure, this angle is called sigma, and below this sigma alpha value, this one is the alpha in radian given in the x axis. So for this sigma value, when this region, it behaves as inductive region. That means below sigma, alpha value should be below sigma, and above sigma, this is called inhibited region, and in this region generally this is not operated. And in this region from 1 to 1.5 generally this is capacitive region. So here see, this is alpha is lower than sigma, and what is the general sigma value? Sigma value is generally 0.5 to 1 radian. Next question number is: converter transformer core saturation will lead to option A harmonic oscillations, option B ferroresonance, option C here subharmonic oscillations, and option D none of these. So here first thing, what is subharmonic oscillations? Oscillations of 0 to 5 hertz is subharmonic. That means the harmonics having frequency less than fundamental frequency are called subharmonic frequencies. So what will be the answer here? For converter transformer core saturation? So what are the converter transformers? In case of HVDC transmission, converter transformers are generally used, and what is their work? Their work is to convert the AC, the transmitted AC, to suitable voltage level for the converters, and in this this transformer, if saturation occurs, core saturation occurs, this will lead to commonly the harmonic oscillations, just like the common transformers. In common transformers also we get harmonic oscillations. Harmonic oscillations means the integer multiples of fundamental harmonics. But in this case we generally found the maximum harmonic is significant fundamental harmonic. You can say that if you are telling that this is fundamental, then why you are telling it to be harmonic? Because we cannot say that 50 hertz to be a harmonic. 100 hertz, 150 hertz are harmonics. These are harmonic frequencies. Although 100 hertz is not present, but 150 hertz third harmonic, fifth harmonic, seventh harmonic, ninth harmonic, all those odd number harmonics are present. But can we tell 50 Hz is a harmonic? Yes, in case of DC, because yes, we can say 50 Hz to be a harmonic in case of DC. DC transmission line fundamental component, that is 50 Hz, is also a harmonic because this is not to be flow in DC line. DC line should be ideally constant, not like this, not like this, or not like this. So in case of this, we generally significant harmonic we get, that is fundamental harmonic. Fundamental harmonic, we don't get ideal DC. So here answer is option A, not the subharmonic or ferro resonance, ferro oscillations. Question number 28. The firing delay angle control for TCR is external control, internal control, both internal and external control, none of these. This is external control, externally controlled. Controlled thyristors are given. Thyristors are controlled externally. HVDC transmission is opted when option A, bulk power transfer is needed, option B, improvement of stability, option C, long distance and cable transmission is required, option D, all of the above. So all of the above is required when HVDC transmission is opted. So bulk power transfer is required, improvement of stability is also required, long distance and cable transmission is required. So here option D is the correct answer. Next is question number 30. When an ideal shunt compensator is placed at midpoint of the transmission line, the maximum value of power transmitted occurs at angle. So here we will see for ideal shunt compensator, at midpoint. Suppose this one is the shunt compensator at midpoint, then what is happened, I have only written here the power formula. Without compensation, what is the power formula? Power formula is P is equal to V square by X sin delta. But with compensation, what we are getting? P is equal to 2 V square by X sin delta by 2. Sin delta by 2. That means we are getting almost 2 times the power transmission capability. So with this one represent the without compensation power, and this is representing the compensated power. And as here delta by 2 is given, for maximum power sin delta by 2 should be 1, sin delta by 2 should be 1, and for sin delta by 2 is to be 1, delta by 2 is to be 90 degree, and delta is to be 180 degree, that means pi. So at 180 degree this the line will produce or will transmit maximum value of power. Next question number 31. A 50 Hz 4-pole turbo generator rated 100 megavolt ampere 11 kV has an inertia constant of 0.8 megajoule by MVA. If the mechanical input is suddenly raised to 80 MVA for an electrical load of 50 megawatt, and this is 80 megawatt, the rotor acceleration when all losses are neglected is in electrical degree per second square. So here we have to find out the acceleration when, as here electrical load is 50 megawatt and we are suddenly loading that, suddenly giving higher mechanical power to that generator, then what will be the oscillation? Oscillation frequency. So here to find out oscillation frequency, we have to find out first here. First thing, what is the stored energy? This is not required, actually this is not required, stored energy calculation is not required, but we can calculate stored energy here. Stored energy equal to S into H. What is S? S is the capacity, that is 100, and H is here the given that inertia constant. H is here the inertia constant. So here what we are getting, stored energy is 800 megajoule. And what is the swing equation? Swing equation is Pm minus Pe, that is P mechanical minus P electrical, which is called as the P acceleration, power of acceleration, which is equal to m into del square delta by del t square. And what is m? M is the angular momentum, which is equal to given by S h by 180 F 180 F, and here as here given degree per electrical degree per second square, we have taken here 180 degree. If nothing is given, we have to put here pi, and we have to calculate with radian, and we will see in another question how we will put it to be pi, and we will calculate with that pi only. So here as given it in electrical degree, we have to put 180 degree. So here SH we have already find out to be 800 here, 800 by 180 into 50, and this is 4 by 45 mega. I have m written means mega. So here angular momentum we have found out, and we have to find out this one. This one is the oscillation frequency. This one is acceleration frequency. So this one acceleration. So this one is the acceleration, not frequency. This one is acceleration, and rate of acceleration. And this one given by PA by M. And what is PA? PA is the PM minus PE, that is mechanical power minus electrical power. And what is the mechanical power here? 80 minus 30 is the electrical power by M. M is 4 by 45, which is equal to 337.5 electrical degree per centimeter square. And this is the answer here. The order in which synchronous machine used in power system are arranged according to their inertia constant is symbol used here: water wheel generator WG, turbine generator TG, and synchronous condenser SG. So here if we will take three devices, that is water wheel generator, turbine generator and synchronous condenser, general order is this one. This one is the general order. That means turbo generator has higher inertia constant, then water wheel, and then that is SG is synchronous condenser. So here this is not a turbine generator, this is actually turbo generators. So these are the orders. Generally water generator has in order of 2. As in this previous question, what we are getting here, getting that 8 megajoule per MVA. Inertia constant is given to be 8 megajoule per MVA. So in this generally if we compare, if a water wheel generator has the inertia constant of 2, for same rating we will take inertia constant for TG, that is turbo generator, is 4, and for the same rating SG, that is a condenser, synchronous condenser, will have 1. Next question is: a synchronous generator of reactance 1.2 per unit is connected to an infinite buzzer V mod is equal to 1 per unit through transformer and line of total reactance 0.6 per unit. The generator no load voltage is 1.2 per unit, and its inertia constant is 4 megawatt second per MVA. The resistance and machine damping may be assumed negligible. The system frequency is 50 Hz. If the generator is loaded to 50%, the frequency of natural oscillation of the generator is. So this is a lengthy question. Here are the given: inertia constant is this much, frequency is this much, and all damping are neglected, resistance and machine dampings are neglected. Another thing is generator is loaded to be 50%, and what is asking? Frequency of natural oscillation of the generator is asking. So I have listed down what are the given data here. I have noted down here. So a synchronous generator of reactance 1.2 per unit. Here is the synchronous generator having 1.2 per unit reactance, and also it has 1.2 per unit no load voltage. Here no load voltage is 1.2 per unit, and it is connected to a bus bar, infinite bus bar, through a transformer and a transmission line having total reactance of 0.6 per unit. So another thing given, that the H is the inertia constant, frequency is given, 50% loading is given. So here we have to find out the natural oscillation frequency. So what is natural oscillation frequency? Fn is given to be del Pe by del delta at delta 0 by m to the power half. This one is the formula, and please refer any book of power system stability for this formula, and this formula can be derived from the swing equation itself. From swing equation itself we can find out this formula. by taking the differentials to be a constant, to be a variable, not constant, to be a variable. So here m is the angular momentum, and we have already solved problem on angular momentum. What is angular momentum? sh by pi f, and here nothing is given, so we have to take pi in radians, not 180. So here s is given to be 1, s is given to be 1, nothing is given, so you will take MVA, that is MVA rating, to be 1 per unit, into 4 is given, and we will keep pi like this, and into 50 is the frequency given. And what is the m is the angular momentum, and what we are getting, 0.08 by pi megajoule second per radian. Now at 50% loading, s delta naught sine delta naught is equal to 50 by 100, that means 0.5. so what will be cos delta naught? Will be 1 minus sine delta naught square root over. So this will be 1 minus 0.5 square root over, and this answer is 0.866. So what we are finding out? We have got the cos delta naught, and now del PE by del delta at delta naught, del PE by del delta, because we need this one, this numerator and this denominator we have already find out, and we have to find out numerator, that is del PE by del delta at delta naught. So this is this one is V1 V2 by x is the reactance, complete reactance, into cos delta naught, which is equal to 1.2 into x, 1.2 into 1 by 1.8, because here 1.8 is the total reactance, here is 1.2, here is 1.2 plus 0.6, which is equal to 1.8 into cos delta naught is 0.866, and what we are getting, del PE by del delta is equal to 0.577, and what is Fn? We have to apply this formula, 0.577 by 0.08 by pi, which is equal to, and root over, then which is equal to 4.76 radian per second, and this is in radian per second, and we have to find out in hertz. We know that 2 pi radian is equal to 1 cycle, and if we talk about 2 pi radian per second, it will be 1 cycle per second, that means 1 hertz. So what will be 4.74 radian per second? This will be 4.74 by 2 pi cycle per second, or hertz, and this will be equal to 0.758 hertz, and here option A is the correct answer, 0.758 hertz. Next question is question number 34. The transient stability limit in a power system can be improved by option A, automatic voltage regulator, option B, high speed excitation systems, option C, high speed reclosing breakers, option D, all of the above. So here all of the above is the answer, all are needed for better transient stability. Next question is question number 35. Consider a 3-phase full transposed line with self reactance of each line XS and mutual reactance between the any pair of line is XM. The positive sequence impedance and the negative sequence impedance of the line are given by. So we have already discussed two same type of questions. So this will be XS minus XM, that is the self inductance, minus XM, that is mutual inductance. If asked for the zero sequence is XMS minus 2 plus 2XM. Next is, this is for fully transposed line. You have to consider this one. This one is fully transposed transmission line, not the synchronous generator or anything. This is a transmission line. Next question is question number 36. Here given that the typical order of sequence impedance, positive sequence is Z1, negative sequence is Z2, and zero sequence is Z0 of a synchronous generator. Here synchronous generator sequence impedances are given. What is the typical order? Typical order is Z1 is greater than Z2 is greater than Z0 or Z0. So Z1 is the highest value, because generally Z1 has a value is equal to JXD double prime, that is soft transient reactance, is equal to soft transient reactance in case of soft transient, is equal to transient reactance in case of transient, and is equal to direct axis reactance in case of steady state value. So in all the cases these value are higher than both Z2 and Z0. That is, in steady state case, if we consider this is 110, that means 110%. But whereas Z2 is always XD double prime, that means soft transient reactance plus transient reactance by 2, that means average of transient and soft transient, and this is always equal to 12%. And Z0, that is Z0, is equal to 3Zn plus ZG0, and this is less than, always least value having 5%. So here order is B, that is Z1 is greater than Z2 is greater than Z0. Question number 37. If the current phasor lags voltage phasor by 300 degree, here degree should be present, the ratio of reactive power to real power is. So here what is given, the current phasor lags the voltage phasor by 300 degree. That means this one is the voltage phasor, this one is the voltage phasor, and this one is the current phasor, and this one is lagging. So here this direction is lagging by 300 degree. That means this one is 300 degree. That means it is leading, current is leading the voltage by 60 degree. So what will be the ratio of reactive power to the real power? Reactive power is given by VI sin theta, and real power is given by VI cos theta. So VI sin theta by VI cos theta will be equal to tan theta, and here angle between voltage and current is 60 degree. So this will be tan 60 degree, and tan 60 degree is equal to sin 60 by cos 60, and sin 60 is root 3 by 2, cos 60 is half. So 2 will be cancelled and root 3 only will be present. So root 3 value is 1.732. Option C here is the correct answer. Next question is question number 38. A transformer is rated 11 kV by 0.4 kV. 11 kV by 0.4 kV. 500 kVA, 5% reactance. The short circuit MVA of the transformer when connected to an infinite bus. So when connected to an infinite bus, the short circuit MVA will be MVA base by X per unit. MVA base. What is the MVA base? Here given 500 kVA. So this will be MVA base. So what will be in terms of MVA? In terms of MVA, 500 by 1000. 500 by 1000. That means 0.5 MVA. This is base value by X in per unit value. X is given to be 5% here. 5% here given reactance, and this will be per unit value will be 0.05. So answer is 10. Here option C is the correct answer. Next is question number 39. In case of question number 39, what is given? The percentage increase of bus bar voltage required to compensate for reactance drop when the feeder having a reactance of 3% carries a full load current at a power factor of 0.8 lagging each. So we have to find out the bus bar voltage required to compensate this lagging, compensate the voltage drop. So voltage drop due to the voltage drop is given by generally VR cos phi r plus Vx sin phi r, and what is here given that for reactance drop only, here given that only reactance drop, not given that resistance drop. So this part is called the resistance drop and this part is reactance drop, and here power factor is given to be 0.8 power factor lagging, and as here cos phi is given to be 0.8, sin phi will be 0.6, and this one is neglected, this part is neglected, only we have to find out this part. So what is given? 3% reactance, and this is 3%. VR sin phi r is equal to 3% reactance, 3 into 0.6, that means 1.8 per unit required. 1.8 per unit voltage is required, increase bus bar voltage required to compensate the reactance drop. Next question is question number 40. The line current in the A, B and C phase of the A three-phase system are given to be 500 plus J 150 ampere, 100 minus J 250 ampere, minus 300 plus J 100 ampere respectively. The zero sequence current is given by. So zero sequence current is the summation of all three-phase currents. So if we add all three-phase currents, what we are getting? This J part, that is imaginary part will be 0, imaginary part will be 0, and here only the positive part we are getting, and it is to be 300 ampere. So here answer is option B, and it is 300 ampere.